Henry, talk about last night, disappointing way to end the season, but look back on the season. What's your take on everything that happened, and are you looking forward to the future?
Definitely looking forward to the future. I think it's tough to assess the season. We had a lot go on. I think we started really well. If you take that first segment, I think we're probably a top 5 team in the league. After that, I think even in the middle portion of the season, probably a top 10 team in the league, and then towards the end, not quite as good. But I think we have a lot to look forward to next year.
I guess just between your injury and just all the events kind of surrounding the season, just kind of how difficult might have it been for you.
Yeah, it was. I thought I started really well. Then obviously I was out for 5 months, and then came back. And yesterday was my first 90, and now it's the off season. So I think the timing's not great. But I'm gonna make sure these 2 months are really productive, and make sure I head into next year in good shape.
Omar yesterday talked about how Bruce is a really large voice and that he's in charge and he's the one that people listen to. And he said that afterwards it was a little bit more difficult. What was the vibe in the locker room, and how was it different once Bruce Arena left the club?
The vibe in the locker room yesterday specifically,
no,
or just in general?
The months after Bruce Arena left.
I think there was just uncertainty is how I would describe it. And I think the front office will do their best to give us certainty going into next season. That's what I expect, and that's what I think they'll do.
And I guess just kind of how difficult can it be when you might not know who to impress or who's going to be the next guy. Just how can it be difficult for a player in that situation?
It can be difficult. I think it's tough for guys who have options this offseason. I think decisions have to be made in that regard. But everyone always wants to show well. So no matter who's in charge, no matter who you're trying to impress, you always try to give your best.
It was talked about that Clint had a really collaborative process, bringing in people and talking to people, but it also seemed like sometimes there was too many voices and you were changing systems a lot. Dave Romney talked about that at one point. What was that collaboration like, and was it hard sometimes because things were changing so often?
First of all, I think Clint's a great coach, and he deserves that recognition. And he tried to, I think, build with 3. That was part of his DNA with the second team, so he tried to implement that. And, I think there was tough timing. There wasn't enough time for us to really adjust to that, so I think that was a big factor. And as far as him being collaborative, he was open-minded and heard other voices.
Jeff, Caroline?
So, Henry, you mentioned kind of just getting healthy right at the end of the season. So how does this offseason maybe look a little bit different than a typical offseason for you as you try to get yourself ready for 2024?
Yeah, I was thinking about this today with a few people, but I think it's less rest, more work than usual. That's what I think. So it's a longer off season. It's 2 months. Off seasons in the past, whether I've been called into camps or it's been late playoff runs, have been much shorter. So I think it's going to be. I'll talk with the performance staff, but it's going to be less rest and more work to try to keep myself fit.
And from a personal point of view, how excited are you already for next season? I appreciate that this one's only just finished. But
yeah, really excited. I'm really excited for next season. I kind of look at this season, and I think we left something on the table. So hopefully that's not the case next year, and I look forward to improving.
A lot's been said about the talent in this roster as well. What are your thoughts on the quality of this squad?
I think it's a good roster. Obviously, it won't be the same. It never is. I'm curious to see what changes we make, but I think it's a good roster, and we have a lot of great guys coming back, and I'm sure we'll make some great additions as well.
And Gustavo Bo's, a player whose contract's expiring. Would you like to see him come back, and can you just kind of talk about his impact as a player?
Yeah, Gustavo's great. We would love to have him back, and if he doesn't come back, that opens up a DP spot for someone else, so I view it as a win-win.
Can you talk about, you guys seem like you were building something. Year after year, you were contenders. It looked like things were going really well for you guys. And now you mentioned yourself, there's so much uncertainty that's happening here. What's it like now? Does it feel like it's almost like an end of an era in some ways, that you're entering a new phase for the Revolution?
I think so. I think that was, there was a Bruce era, and now it's a new era. And I think there has been uncertainty this year, but I think there will be certainty, like I said, going into next season. I think things will be clear, and I think the club will do that well.
What was the Bruce era? What was the Bruce era defined by, and what would you like the new era to look like for the Revolution?
I think it was defined by a team that was hard to play against. We all knew our role. We were a fairly man-oriented team, and you just, you win your matchup. And I don't know what the identity will be in the future, but I have no doubt that this club's heading in the right direction.
Wrap up. I just want to ask about the fan support. I'm sure you were probably in the stands with the fans more than you wanted to be this year, but having kind of gotten that perspective of it, seeing a club record in terms of fans attending Revs games, DeJuan said he felt like that was a huge part of why the team was so good at home. What was kind of your perspective on that home support this year?
If you didn't bring that up, I was going to. So, it was great fan support. As you said, franchise record in attendance, I think 23-something thousand, per game, which is excellent. I think it was top 7 in MLS, so that's really top 6 maybe. So really good support. They've been excellent. The fans are great. They're always great. They're always supporting us, so we thank them a lot.
Thank you
Thank
very
you so
much,
much,
Henry.
Henry.
Appreciate it.